Okay, so Carolina, they beat the Edmonton Oilers. Suck it, Dad. And I think this was a very good win for Carolina. I think in game one, I criticized Carolina for having their speed. It looks like they just came out flat. They're still going to be a fast team, so of all the things there, I do apologize. However, there are some similar red flags and some of the criticisms I had with the guys they picked up. Some of them so far are turning out really good. I think the problem is some of the players that are turning out to be good are not the team to be filling the gaps that Carolina needs, right? So I'll start off with who had a really good game tonight. I think once we get into 10 games, I'll stop bringing up and spotlighting who's new. I'll just be saying who plays well. But it's important to look at when analyzing the team for the rest of the season. Carrier, I mean, he's done a great job replacing Foss. I would say almost put him up on the top six, depending on if, based on what happened tonight, sample size is too small to see if that should continue. But maybe there's a different guy who was on Carolina's fourth line tonight who could end up becoming a top six. But Carrier, for me, forward wise, on new faces that Carolina acquired, not have come up from the farm system, has been the highlight because he almost in some ways fills the need. Excellent forward checker, really has been a solid replacement for the Foss Niederreiter role that like the stall line seems to rotate through. And he fits in with that line very well. So Carrier, another solid night by him. I really like watching Carrier play. And even though I criticize Carolina for their lack of depth scoring, the third line is doing its job. And probably for me, I didn't watch the game in St. Louis. I didn't watch the game in Pittsburgh. Has been the highlight of the season on how that line plays. Next up, Walker is playing really well. I really like Walker. There is kind of a newer face on defense. For me, the highlight has been Gosh Despair. And maybe I haven't noticed Walker as much because he's doing a good job complementing the offensive abilities of Gosh Despair. But Gosh Despair got a 2.9 Hurricane of the game. Just going to get that out of the way. He's bringing an offensive touch. He's been the Canes' number one offensive defenseman. I think Jacob Slavin still has been Carolina's number one defenseman total. But gosh, despair. He's played with Carolina before. He's kind of because he was a top six defenseman with Pesci and Shea. He's really kind of as the top six, doing a great job picking up more points. So that's great as well. And in terms of like some of the players, I don't think Roslovic fits on the second line. I don't really like him there already. I think like for Roslovic on the second line, the sample size is big enough. I'm going to double check how many points he has because maybe I'm not seeing it. It's showing up on the stat sheet. Should I have done this beforehand? But probably. But to quote the great, or not even great, the producer Bill O'Reilly, we're doing it live. So let me just see here. It's too early for points as a whole, but for in this case, for how Carolina's roster is shaping up and everything. There we go. Oh, carry Roslovic. Okay, the NHLF sucks, so maybe we're not going to see how many points he has, but um, oh, he's got 2 goals, so he scored the goals in the games I wasn't watching, so that's my bad. Could just be, I can't follow the eyesight test, but based on my experience, I haven't liked Roslovic on the 3 of the 5 games I've watched. So take what I just said with a grain of salt. But another compliment to Brindamore though. In this game in particular, Robinson was playing particularly well. I think the fourth line got into a little bit too much trouble, Robinson included in that. But Carolina's fourth line was playing really well. Rod Brindamore, hopefully he does this in the playoffs. Like, I don't know why Carolina didn't make adjustments in the playoffs when things weren't working, but they just weren't. So we'll see how things go in the playoffs. But Rod Brindamore actually was paying attention to what was and wasn't working. He saw that the second line, Kakaniemi and Natchez Roslovic wasn't working tonight. It's probably worked the other 2 games, but however, tonight it didn't work and shuffled them. Robinson got put up to the second line. That's what caused the goal that Natchez did a great job burying. Natchez, another one, would have been Hurricane of the game. Had a really good night, 2-point night as well. But I felt like Gosh Despair has really been a highlight for Carolina's new pickups. I wanted to spotlight him a little bit more. But if you would want to give Hurricane of the game to Natchez, I wouldn't complain. But Nate just had a really good night as well, and the lines kind of shuffled around. Svechnikov, he's snake bitten. I've really liked when I've watched Svechnikov play, but the bounces aren't going his way. Hopefully, as the season goes on, the bounces will go his way. But he plays for the Hurricanes, so you never know if the bounces are going to start going his way. And like Jacob Slavin did a great job toning down Connor McDavid. Now the thing is, great game all around. Carolina is really good against offensive teams. I would say like for two good teams, the way they match up, and Edmonton, I know they're off to a slower start at like 2-3-1, something like that now. Carolina, this is like the past few years, it's like a dream matchup. Carolina is really good at shutting down offensively minded, pure skill teams. Edmonton is the best at that. So this is kind of Carolina's a bad matchup for Edmonton, but Carolina again did a great job shutting down. Other than the 2 goals McDavid scored, but I mean that's just the best player in the world doing best player in the world things. So we'll see how things go. Again, Carolina, they're moving in this way. Hopefully, it continues to grow because even though I don't think they're going to win the cup this year or anything, I want to see them win the cup this year. But they continue to get better from the games I've watched. I know they lost to St. Louis in a game where they scored 3 goals. And based on the roster construction, you can't lose games where you score 3 goals if you're Carolina. I'm sorry. Like, you're a defensively minded team. You should be averaging 2.5 goals against. Carolina, they hold true to that here tonight. But in a game where you score 3 goals or more, to me, you got to win that game. So the fact that they lost to St. Louis is a red flag, but they bounced back with a win. I believe they would probably, given they're playing Edmonton, they're probably in Calgary, playing Calgary tomorrow. So let me just go to scores here. Thursday. Yes, they do play Calgary tomorrow. So we'll see how that game goes. Calgary's having a really good year, so there's going to be a test, a good team from last season who everyone expects to continue to be good, versus, in this case, where is it? Versus a team that was not good last year. Still too early to tell who the good teams are going to be, but we're starting to get to the point where we can be like, oh, this is a good team right now. And they're doing that. So it's another test for Carolina. Tough road trip. We'll see how things go. But that's it for this one. See you guys for the next video.